Hello all my subscribers. As I was saying, gonna go ahead and do a video form of the podcast I just did, and we shall see if I get emotional like I did on that, but already did that, so I think I'm kind of already braced for the impact. Still will hurt though, kind of like a bulletproof vest. Bullet still hits you, but you're still gonna feel the pain. It won't kill you, but you'll feel the pain, because yeah, that's just the way it is. Anyway, gonna go ahead and review every movie in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, MCU for short, so you know what I'm referring to. Of probably my favorite female superhero, definitely up there among my overall favorite superheroes, and her solo film definitely contributed to that. And the actress too, Scarlett Johansson, because she's just simply amazing. But anyway, here it is, Black Widow. So her debut was in Iron Man 2, and let me go ahead and get a little something to show her appearances throughout the MCU. A little prop, and I'll also have some images here too, because I know the visibility on this probably won't be the best. But yeah, her initial debut was in Iron Man 2, which is right here. Now, I'll also have the poster there, so maybe this may not be the best idea for this. It's worth a thought though. But yeah, this was her debut in the MCU, where she debuts as an undercover agent affiliated with S.H.I.E.L.D. As she became Tony Stark's new secretary, as he believed he was dying and he needed another one, promoted Pepper to that role. And her debut scene was absolutely amazing, cemented my love for the character and Scarlett Johansson all in once. But anyway, just so funny how she shows up, Stark is all noticing her, and I just love Pepper's line where she's all like, you know, she's a very expensive sexual harassment ticket with the way you're ogling her. And it's funny too when he starts Googling her, and he's all like, oh, I thought I was ogling her, now I'm Googling her. Just classic RDJ snark. Love it. Anyway, I just love how Happy's all talking to her, and he's all like, yeah, I know you've done probably Tybo, stuff like that. And then she just grabs his arm, throws him around, throws him on the mat, and Pepper's all shocked because she's all like, what the heck is going on here? And yeah, let's just say that was a solid debut and her intro, which let's put a pin in this because it's going to connect to her solo film in Black Widow. But yeah, so that's her intro, and she's also in a few other scenes with Stark where she's playing the role of his assistant, and also when she's in her little leopard dress. This being at Stark's birthday party. And yeah, let's just say, yeah, this is the scene where Pepper's beginning to catch on that she may not be who she is. And there's also this real nice scene where Stark is like telling her, this is my last birthday party. What am I going to have to do? Because at this point in the film, he's under the impression he's dying. And she's saying, well, I'm going to spend it with who I want and do what I want. And definitely a nice way to show Stark and Natasha Romanoff. And that's who I'm talking to. I guess I should specify that. This is Natasha Romanoff, Black Widow. Not Yelena Belova, but we'll get to her when we get to the solo film. And this will be chronological order. So yeah, her appearances in chronological order, and also won't be Melina Vostokov since she's another one. But yeah, anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and let's see, where was I at? But yeah, so she's beginning to catch on, and it's also nice one little detail I didn't notice until rewatching it on this marathon. She's like getting ready to get in a fight pose when frickin' Iron Man and War Machine are having at it, and she almost blew her cover right there in that very second, and nice little detail I like. And also, I like it too when Stark wakes up from his hangover on the donut, where she's officially in her Black Widow outfit with Fury. But yeah, she's in her outfit with Fury, and she gives Stark a little shot on his neck, and he's all like, can you not do anything awful for like 2 minutes, because he feels all betrayed. And it's just so nice how she's like trying to be all snarky with him, saying, you know, there are redundancies to prevent unauthorized usage for your armors. And it's also, yeah, where it's revealed he's all like, oh, so she's been a double agent this whole time with S.H.I.E.L.D. as she's been working with me. And guess after that, the next noticeable scene is when she's in, well, Tony's old office, but it's now Pepper's. And it's so funny when he's all like, God, you are a triple imposter. How do you do it? Do you really speak Latin? And then she says something in Latin, which I found out is translated to, appearances can be deceiving. Which is definitely true right there. But yeah, and I think the last notable scene for her appearance in this film, I gotta say, is near the end of the film, where she goes to the Stark Expo with Pepper, and it's just such a nice scene where Justin Hammers, he's Whiplash, the villain of this film, is messing with his presentation at the Stark Expo, and it's so funny. I just love this scene, this little detail. I've always noticed it from when I first watched it, but love it even more now, where he's all like, all right, let's get these two bitches out of here. And she just grabs his arm and is all about ready to break it. He's like, oh, God. He's like, Ivan Vanko. And she just uses her freaking spy skills, and she's all like, not today, bitch. But yeah, I just love it, which then leads to the hallway fight scene with Happy Hogan, which shows her being a badass and funny, too, with the joke with Happy. But Happy Hogan is obviously a cool character, so yeah, but I just like how she's going around just laying the floor with all the guards of Anton Vanko, and oh gosh, it is just so funny how freaking Happy punches the one guy, knocks him out. He's like, I got him, and she's just going around tasing everybody, knocking him out with one punch, one kick, and one guy she pepper sprayed, and he just looks around, the camera cuts away, and it's like, oh, she cleared out the place before I even got a chance. And another badass moment, too, I like is when she goes around with her two guns, and she is about ready to take down Vanko, but he escaped. And also when she restores, because Vanko was controlling War Machine up to this point with his technology and his suit, and she restores the control to him. And I also like her last line of this film, and until her appearance in the Avengers, where Stark is revealing that he's okay, his blood poisoning isn't as bad from the palladium, and she's saying, I'm noticing improving levels on your vital signs. And he's like, yeah, for the moment I'm not dying. And then Pepper overhears it, and oh gosh, her line is just so awesome. She's all like, hey, save it for the honeymoon. But yeah, overall, I gotta say, this is a very good debut. I don't really agree with Scarlett Johansson, how she says she looks back on this and feels differently about the way she was portrayed. I thought this was a damn good intro to establish the character, and I don't really see her issues with it, but that's just her. But I'm glad she at least said she's glad for the opportunity, and I'm glad Jon Favreau noticed her and took the chance on her, because I guess she dyed her hair before production began to get the role. And so glad Emily Blunt had that scheduling conflict with Gulliver's Travels, because as much as I love Emily Blunt, I can't see her as Natasha. She's a great actress, but she's not Natasha Romanoff. Anyway, let's go ahead and go to her next appearance in the Avengers. So this movie is picking off where Loki is beginning to come to Earth, as he's part of the bigger plan of Thanos with the Infinity War that will come later. But for Natasha in this movie, it shows her doing a reverse interrogation with Agent Coulson in this scene that is just so awesome, where Coulson calls her and she's all like, I'm working right now. Can this please wait? And it's just so awesome how how Coulson says, Barton's been compromised. And she's all like, I'm going to put you on hold. And then she puts him on hold, and he's just sitting there on his phone. And oh gosh, it is just so freaking hilarious how he's just listening to her, and she is just knocking all these goons out, and oh gosh, just so freaking hilarious how that all played down, and showing her being an absolute badass. And also leading into the next scene of her with Bruce Banner. But yeah, this scene with Bruce Banner has a little hint that will come to pay off a little later in her solo film, but I'm going to go ahead and just put a pin in that for now. But yeah, I like how she says to him, we're all alone. It's just you, me, and the floorboards. And she's going to go get Banner because he's an expert in gamma radiation, because the Tesseract emits gamma radiation, and he's the best expert, obviously, because that's what created the Hulk. And there's this real great scene where Bruce is trying to mess with her, and her instincts kick in yet again, where she grabs her gun, and he's all like, okay, all right, I was just seeing how you'd react. And he's all like, let's go ahead and not let this happen where you use that and the other guy, referring to the Hulk, comes in. And then she's all like, on her communicator on her wrist, she's all like, okay, don't come in. And there's just a whole army of S.H.I.E.L.D. agents coming in, and yeah, it's just freaking hilarious moment. And he's all like, so just you and me. And then she has a look on her face like, you dick. But yeah, after this, the main notable moments I want to highlight for the rest of this movie, when she meets Captain America for the first time. But yeah, it's on the S.H.I.E.L.D. helicarrier, and she messes with, she talks about how Agent Coulson was a huge fan and how he's collecting these collector's cards. And she's all like, we thought Agent Coulson was going to go swimming when we found you in the ice. And gosh, that was just such a great moment. And yeah. Outside of that, the next notable scene is when she goes to Loki, where he's going to get the protons from the meteorite to enact his portal to send the Chitauri army to Earth. But yeah, anyway, let's just say it is pretty awesome when she's flying in with the Quinjet telling Loki to stand down. And it's just so awesome when Stark comes in and he's playing Shoot to Thrill, and she just has a look on her face like, he has arrived. And then that leads into the next scene too, I like, where she's talking to Cap, and she's saying, you might want to sit this out, Cap. They're basically gods. And he's all like, there's only one god, ma'am, and I'm pretty sure he doesn't dress like that. But yeah, the next notable moment is her on the helicarrier. But yeah, this is the moment where the Tesseract is beginning to mess with all the Avengers and turn them against each other. Except she isn't as affected as the others, and leads to a real great scene where a character's name is revealed and an event in Natasha's past. Once again, let's put a pin in it for when we get to Black Widow. But yeah, where she reveals why she has such undying loyalty to Clint Barton, aka Hawkeye. And it's so nice where she's all like, it's not that complicated. I've got red in my ledger. I'm trying to wipe it out. And then Loki's trying to get all under her skin and saying how he's going to brainwash Hawkeye to kill her until he unleashes her from his mind control. And then she's all like, no, you brought the monster upon yourself, referring to the Hulk. And I just like how she's just all like, Banner, so that's your plan. And then she's all like, thank you for your cooperation. Another nice little setup that's going to pay off later, which is what I love about the MCU. A little writing technique called Chekhov's gun is something here I really like. And yeah, but let's just say the plan does work, though. The Hulk comes in and leads to a scene where she's being chased by the Hulk, and she tries to stop Bruce from transforming, but he just can't help it. And she is shooken up, and gosh, this doesn't get discussed a lot, but I can only imagine how terrifying that was with the Hulk chasing her, and why she was shaken up during this whole experience, and why it wasn't until a few minutes later when it was revealed Hawkeye was coming to cause some more damage, and she's all like, I'm here, I copy, and then fights Hawkeye and gets him out of the mind control, and also continues to help him deal with the fact that he's been mind controlled, because that's one thing about the MCU I really like, is they just don't let mind control just be a minor nuisance. They show the lasting implications of mind control. But yeah, here's a few images showing that. But yeah, after that, it's pretty much leading into the Battle of New York, and Natasha has many badass moments from taking down the Chitauri with her 2 Glocks, which is pretty badass. And also when she devises the plan to stop Loki from being able to send in more of his army, where she's like, we gotta close that portal. And a real nice scene where Cap launches her with his shield up on the little flying platforms they were using. And another awesome scene too, where Hawkeye is shooting an arrow at Loki because she's being followed by him hot on her tail. And frickin', it's just so awesome. He catches the arrow, it explodes, and then she goes to Dr. Selvig, who had been mind controlled, and she's the one who closes the portal. And a real nice moment where she's waiting for Stark to come back down after she grabs Loki's Tesseract or not Tesseract, the Scepter to close the Tesseract. Blah, I can't talk. But yeah, anyway, frickin' just a real awesome moment where right as Stark comes back to Earth, she closes the portal. And after that, nothing of note except for when she's with all the other Avengers, taking down Loki, having the moment where he realizes he's defeated. And guess that's it for her appearance up to the Avengers. So, yeah, another solid appearance. And definitely had many badass moments. I like the little hints we got at her backstory and just her showing how she was just an amazing character. And definitely the relationship with Hawkeye. And I liked how her relationships with all the Avengers were established. Banner, the Hulk, and Stark, which was a carryover from the previous film, and Captain America that was introduced here, along with her connection with Hawkeye introduced here in this movie. And then up next will be her in a co-starring role of Captain America in Captain America: The Winter Soldier. But yeah, right out of the gate with this movie, frickin' Natasha is picking up Steve as he's running with Sam Wilson, aka Falcon, and she just has a real hilarious joke where she's all like, any of you know how to get to the Smithsonian? I got a fossil to return. And frickin' it's just a real frickin' great way to show their friendship, and definitely glad they kept Captain America and Black Widow as just friends, because I know in some comics they've dated, but kind of glad in these MCU movies they downplayed her dating history, because in the comics it seems like she's almost defined by the male characters she dates, because she's dated some big name male superheroes, from Daredevil to the Winter Soldier. Well, he's more of an anti-hero, but yeah, and a former villain. And yeah, Daredevil, Winter Soldier, and in some continuities, the Ultimate One, Iron Man himself. And yeah. But anyway, moving on to this film, really like in the opening scene where she's trying to talk to Steve about his love life, and I swear she's one of the few people in the world who it won't get real annoying if she talks about this. But yeah, maybe it's Scarlett Johansson, the writing or whatever, but it's just so funny when she's talking to Cap, saying, you know, odds are, the statistics are, if you ask Kristen now, she'll say yes. And he's all like, that's why I don't ask. And she's like, too shy or too scared? And he's all like, too busy. And then jumps out of the Quinjet without a freaking parachute. And it's just so funny how while they're fighting, freaking she's still trying to freaking say, what about this girl? And he's all like, focus on the mission, then get me a date. And she's like, I'm multitasking. And she also has a real badass fight moment too, where she's rappelling down from this rope and shooting at goons, and one goon who she can't even see through his body, but she's pulling out her gun, shooting at him, and actually hitting a few of them. But yeah, it's a real awesome moment too. And also one furthering their relationship, where she's downloading some files and Cap is noticing, like, hey, what the heck are you doing? Well, yeah, here's a few images from these scenes of her. But yeah, then after this, nothing of much note happens until Nick Fury's quote-unquote death. And she goes to see Fury in the hospital, and also when Captain America finds the data from this thumb drive that he gave frickin' Steve Rogers, Captain America, to hold on to, and he hides it behind some gum at a hospital, and she gets to it first, and there's this real great scene where he's like, what the heck are you doing? And she's all revealing her history with Bucky and how she got shot in the stomach by him and barely survived, and reveals who the Winter Soldier is and the seriousness of the threat. And frickin' just leads into when her and Cap are on the run, and some real nice moments where they're trying to find ways to evade Hydra now that Hydra has taken over S.H.I.E.L.D. And a real great moment where they're pretending to be a married couple, and they end up showing that New Jersey is the location for this, and the guy who works at the Apple store is all like, frickin', so you're going to New Jersey? All right, interesting choice. But yeah, this then leads into another moment too where they have to kiss because she states how public displays of affection make people feel uncomfortable. And she's all like, you feel uncomfortable? And he's all like, not the word I would choose. And then it leads into this scene, and here's some images from that moment. But here's this scene from when they're on the truck. But yeah, this one's been parodied, I've seen by some on TikTok, but it's so funny where she's all like, all right, you don't have to answer this question, but I feel like if you don't answer it, you're answering it anyway. And Cap's all like, what? And she's like, was that your first kiss since 1945? And he's all like, that bad, huh? And she's like, no, I'm not saying it's that bad. Just, you gotta practice it. And he's like, well, that seems like it's what you're saying. And then they reveal both of their ideologies, as Captain America is morally pure and Natasha doesn't mind lying and living fake lives and has had various different identities. And nice little relationship building scene for them. And then that leads into when they go to the Hydra base, and frickin' she makes a war game reference, and Cap already knows. He's like, yeah, I saw the movie. And another nice moment too where Hydra is beginning to take down S.H.I.E.L.D. and Cap saves her by throwing her in this little underground bunker, and he frickin' shields her, and they end up surviving and go into hiding with Falcon, which this huge moment leads to a payoff that happens in Civil War, where I initially didn't feel real nice about the moment in Civil War, but upon rewatch on this marathon, it doesn't bother me as much. But here's some images for that. But yeah, frickin' after this, she frickin' what was I gonna say? Oh, it leads to a moment where she's saying, you know, if it was down to me, Cap, and you had to make the difficult decision, would you trust me? And he's all like, I would now. And just a real nice moment where her and Steve are interrogating Jasper Sitwell, who was a Hydra sleeper agent. And it's funny because he's now warming up to her saying, and she's all like, yeah, the girl with the lip piercing, she's pretty nice. And he's like, yeah, I don't know if I'm ready for it. But yeah. And then this probably leads to one of her best her last major action scene in this film. Because after this, it was more of the espionage side of her, but it does introduce some tech that comes in later. But anyway, it leads to this highway fight between her and the Winter Soldier, which is just badass. Every part of it's badass, from Captain America fighting the Winter Soldier in his fist fight, and the cat and mouse game between her and Bucky. But yeah, it's just real freaking awesome. And she just has so many moments where you think she's getting ahead of him, but she's not, and vice versa. And then at the end, she ends up getting shot in the shoulder and frickin' is in major pain up until she's rescued by Maria Hill, which then leads into the plan to take down Hydra and Alexander Pierce, where she infiltrates the World Security meeting, and she's wearing a mask that disguises her face. And this piece of technology will come in later, so let's put a pin on that. But yeah, anyway, she takes off her mask and is all like, oh, I'm sorry. Did I step on your moment? And I just really like how she's all freaking like, I don't care, I'm going to reveal all these files. Why not? And then it leads to her going to Capitol Hill in one of her best speeches in the MCU, where she's all like, you know, Senator, you're not going to throw me in a cage. Because you know why? Yes, the world is a vulnerable place, and there are many threats. But we are the most well-equipped to handle these threats. And, yeah, pretty badass moment. And also at the end of the movie, too, when she's telling Steve to go date Sharon Carter, saying, you know that nurse, you should go talk to her. And he's all like, yeah, well, she's actually an agent. But, yeah, it also leads to her getting some files on the Winter Soldier as him and Falcon go on the path to hunt him. But yeah, for the Winter Soldier, I gotta say, as much as this movie made Captain America badass, I mean, it was equally Black Widow too. And if she didn't get a solo film after this, this would more than suffice. But yeah, this was just taking her and Cap to the next level, and she just had so many great moments, great development, and definitely some lasting things that would go on to her next films. So up next is the sequel to the Avengers, Avengers Age of Ultron. So yeah, this movie starts off with her and the Avengers going on to take down the last remnants of Hydra, and leads to showing us, I guess, what's been going on in between films, where she's been able to calm down the Hulk, and back into Bruce Banner, where she says to him, hey, big guy, the sun's getting real low. And she holds his hand and gets him to revert back to Banner. And that's definitely one carrying thread in this film that I really like. But yeah, that was definitely a real nice touch. And oh, also at the Avengers party, also leads to another nice moment too, where she's flirting with the Hulk and he's not really picking up on it. And then Cap comes in like, as the world's leading authority on waiting too long, don't. Because he noticed how she's become a lot more open and has discussed her feelings more with Banner. And it's just a real nice little sweet moment right there. And also it is nice too when Ultron comes in and she's freaking not scared of him and just shooting at him and all his drones and whatnot. So yeah, that was a pretty nice moment. And then after that, this then leads into when frickin' when all the Avengers go down to take down Ulysses Claw, because Ultron wants vibranium from him, and he's using the twins, Wanda Maximoff and Pietro Maximoff, who would later become Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver. But yeah, anyway, leads to a pretty awesome scene where she's with them, and then frickin' Scarlet Witch just comes in and messes with her mind, and we see her vision where she's having flashbacks back to the Red Room, who trained her and abducted her using mind control and human trafficking to just become a soulless assassin. And since she's from Russia, as established in the Avengers, forgot to mention that because that movie showed her Russian heritage when she was working with the KGB, and she even said something like that in The Winter Soldier, where she's like, I guess I just traded the KGB for Hydra. But anyway, we see her as she's going through her frickin' re-experiencing, I should say, her training rituals, and the ballerina that they treated her to caused all that pain. And also when she's shooting at some live people and how it is just really messing with her. And I'm pretty sure those visions just continued when we weren't seeing them, and she was visibly bothered by it. Which then leads to the scenes on the farm where she's talking to Banner, saying how she feels like she's a monster due to her troubled past, and also the Red Room giving all the Black Widows an involuntary hysterectomy. But yeah, definitely a nice little solidifying their relationship type moment between her and Banner. And also really like how her and Banner are thinking of leaving the Avengers, because this is where they're publicly humiliated after the whole mind control thing, and the Hulk goes on a rampage. But yeah, leads into some interesting stuff. But yeah,
freaking then leads to a pretty awesome scene where Captain America is fighting Ultron, and he ends up losing his shield in a real nice moment where Natasha goes in on her electric motorcycle, picks it up, and is all like, "Am I always picking up after you boys?" And pretty awesome scene where she's helping Cap get his shield back, and also stealing Ultron, trying to get his ultimate upgrade form, that being Vision. And it then leads to her getting kidnapped by Ultron when she's caught off guard. Which I gotta say, I don't get why some criticize this movie, saying she was done dirty with the whole "I'm a monster" thing, and then this. The first one was completely out of her control, and it's just a fact of the character. And the other one, she was just simply caught off guard, not her being done dirty or anything. But yeah, after that, not much of note, because the Avengers had to band together to save her. But it then leads to a pretty awesome moment where Banner goes to save her, and she's like, "I need the other guy," where she kisses him and she makes Banner transform, and leads to this awesome moment. But yeah, after that, this leads to probably one of my other favorite Tony Stark joke moments, where he's all like, "You and Banner better not be playing hide the zucchini." And she's all like, "Relax, Shellhead," the classic name of Iron Man from the comics. She's all like, "Not all of us can fly." And then he's driving this forklift truck that frickin' destroys many of Ultron's drones. And then leads to this badass moment where all the Avengers in this circular shot, similar to the team-up shot in the first film, but this time with action, where it's rotating and you see all the Avengers fending off the Ultron drones from Ultron's mechanism that will allow this piece of this village called Sokovia to fall in the world and destroy the planet. And Black Widow has many great moments too, in destroying all these drones. And when she talks to Cap and says, "Maybe we should let a few people die, it won't be that big of a deal." And then Cap's all like, "Not a single civilian is leaving this rock." And she's like, "Relax, I was just throwing the idea out there." And she's all like, "Where else am I going to get a view like this?" Referring to being high up in the clouds. But yeah, pretty amazing moments. And also Banner takes her back to the SHIELD helicarrier when it's about to be taken down by Stark, and then leads to a pretty awesome moment where, I forgot to establish earlier, she was a secret aunt to Hawkeye's children. They called her Auntie Nat. And this real great moment where Hawkeye's wife is pregnant and she says, "How's little Natasha doing?" And then she's all like, his wife says, "I think she's a Nathaniel," and she's all like, "Traitor," talking to her pregnant belly. But yeah, pretty funny moment. And also leads to a moment where she's trying to tell Banner to come back, and he just removes her from the screen because he just doesn't want to endanger her, which then leads to her feelings of being let down by Banner. And real nice moment where she's reflecting on it, and Steve's all like, "That's a real nice wall, but we got work to do." And I just like how her last line in the movie is, "Let's beat him into shape," referring to the new Avengers. But yeah, overall, this was a nice performance. Love seeing some concrete visuals of her backstory. And overall, this definitely was another solid performance to Scarlett's repertoire, and enjoyed seeing it. And now her appearing in the final Captain America movie, Captain America Civil War. So yeah, on to Black Widow's chronological appearance for her solo film. It is Captain America Civil War. And this one follows her leading the new Avengers with Steve Rogers, and a pretty awesome opening fight scene where she goes after Crossbones, tries to use her Widow's Fight taser, one of her weapons, to take him down, and he's all like, "Yeah, I don't work like that anymore." And leads to a pretty awesome scene where he drops a grenade inside this little armored vehicle, and she has to fight these goons, get out of there before the grenade explodes. It amazes me every time how she got out of there and freaking did it in time before that grenade went off. And also these mercenaries they're fighting have this biological weapon that they're gonna spread, and leads to a pretty awesome moment where she's with Falcon's drone and she takes down one of the mercenaries, and so does the drone. And Falcon's like, don't thank me, thank him. And she's like, yeah, no, I'm not thanking that thing. But yeah, I also like too how she's trying to tell Scarlet Witch to keep a low profile. And she's all like, you know I can move things with my head, right? But yeah, this then leads to a pretty awesome moment where she's playing the mediator of the Sokovia Accords after Wanda causes an explosion in a Wakandan humanitarian effort, and it tarnishes the Avengers' reputation, and she's kind of being Switzerland in this argument, but a little more on Stark's side. But yeah, here's the moment. But yeah, after this, I do kind of like how there's a moment where she's regretting taking Stark's side, and he's all like, hey, no, you can't take that back. But yeah, and then this leads to a real nice moment where she solidified her friendship with Steve, where he's grieving the loss of his love, Peggy Carter, and he's come to the decision he can't sign the Sokovia Accords, but because she's with the government, she has to partake in it. And before I go further on this point, I want to highlight too, it's Natasha Romanoff that introduces T'Challa, Black Panther, to the MCU. She's at this UN meeting, and they have a nice little interaction along with his dad saying, I'm surprised you're as comfortable as you are here considering your last appearance in this type of scenario. And it's referring to the ending to the Winter Soldier, so a nice little touch right there. And yeah, anyway, she shows up and tells him how the Sokovia Accords went, the little plan that makes the Avengers no longer be a private organization and they have government oversight, and Steve isn't going to do it, so she's going to go be with those who signed the Sokovia Accords. And frickin' Steve's all sad saying, yeah, I can't sign it. And a real nice moment where she's talking to him, and Steve's like, why are you here? And she's all like, I didn't want you to be alone. Nice moment. And also nice too when frickin' when she's calling Steve saying, I know how much Bucky means to you, after the UN bombing he was accused of, and she's all like, but stay out of this. Obviously doesn't listen to it, but yeah, real nice moment. But yeah, here. But yeah, after that, she has a pretty awesome fight scene with Bucky, even though Bucky is like really overpowered in this scene and she can't really do much on him. But she does hold her own, and it leads to a nice moment where the Daraj Mahal, where she's trying to get T'Challa, because her and Tony are trying to figure out how they're going to bring Steve in, because he escaped from their custody. And she's all like, my plan is downstairs. And then she's asking Tony, what's yours? And then it cuts to the Queen's title card introducing Tom Holland's Spider-Man, my favorite Spider-Man. And Natasha throughout this movie definitely has always kept a good way at keeping the Avengers together. And this movie does have some connections that'll lead into the next chronological film, because after this her story is kind of out of whack chronologically, because Black Widow just came out recently, but chronologically wise it takes place after Civil War, and release wise her next appearance after this is Infinity War, then Endgame. Anyway, with that aside, oh, and a small appearance in Captain Marvel that I'll highlight. Won't say much though because it wasn't all that big, but I'll say enough. Anyway, but yeah, after that, then leads to the airport battle. But yeah, a little verbal stand down that's real nice is when she's telling Steve, you know how this is going to go down. Are you sure you want to do this? And leads to a nice moment where Steve's trying to escape, Captain America on his side, and then freaking they just end up getting in their fight, and she's fighting Hawkeye, and it's a real nice moment where she does her Black Widow scissor kick, where she uses her legs to take down people, like what she did to Happy in Iron Man 2. And it's real nice where she's all like, we're still friends, right? Talking to Clint, Hawkeye, and then he's all like, it depends on how hard you hit me. And it's pretty funny when she tries to kick him, and Wanda just uses her powers, holds her leg, and then flings her around. As like it too when she's fighting Ant-Man, and he's all like, I don't want to hurt you, and she's all like, I wouldn't sweat about it. And there's also this other nice moment too where Ant-Man is in his ant size, and Natasha uses her taser, her little widow spikes, to zap him like a bug. Freaking hilarious. But yeah, she didn't help when Ant-Man became Giant Man though, but what was she gonna do with her tech and whatnot? But I'll probably discuss that moment when I go to the Iron Man Captain America video, since it's looking like that's gonna be my next video. But anyway, freaking after this is the moment that was set up and paid off in Captain America the Winter Soldier, that being the whole, if it was up to you to make that decision, would you trust me? And then he said, I would now. She ends up helping Steve out, tases Black Panther as he's trying to take him down, and then says, I said I'd get you him. There is a difference. And then this leads to her final scene in the film, where she goes to talk to Stark, and he's all like, so does the double agent thing never die? And she's all like, can you let go of your ego for one goddamn second? And wow, Tony gave her a pretty good punch to the gut, because she's been trying to clean up her image with everything, and he brought that up, and whew, yeah, got intense. But that was the end of her time in Captain America Civil War. We're gonna move on next to her solo film Black Widow, but yeah, definitely another solid appearance. Loved the developing of all the relationships of all the characters, and definitely another solid appearance, and leads into even greater things later on. So now let's go ahead and discuss the big tamale, her solo film, Black Widow. So yeah, this is her solo film. Takes place after Captain America Civil War, but picks up right where she's a fugitive from the Sokovia Accords. And the movie has a real nice opening scene showing her childhood in Ohio, and where she came from on that, and what the Red Room did to her, along with a very intense opening credit scene with a cover of Smells Like Teen Spirit that, oh boy, was very intense and sets the mood for this movie. And due to its graphic content, I don't want to show any images, so I'm just going to leave it at that. But yeah, this movie picks up where she's in her period of hiding, and decides to go confront her past. And this is where all those setups are beginning to be paid off in this movie, so let's go ahead and get ready for that. But anyway, before I get into that, I want to discuss a few characters that are going to be mentioned many times. So there's her adopted sister, Yelena Belova, who is also a Black Widow, and her adopted mother, Melina Vostokov, and her adopted dad, Alexei, otherwise known as Red Guardian, Soviet Russia's equivalent to Captain America. And this was her fake family that was on a mission that's in the intro to this movie. But yeah, she obviously isn't on speaking terms with them, and for over 20 years just has no desire to reach out to them. But as we see as the film progresses, that will change. Anyway, here they all are. But yeah, she's hiding out. She ends up getting attacked by Taskmaster, one of the highest trained widows in the Red Room, and ends up getting dragged into the Red Room, which she thought was destroyed, and its leader named Dreykov. And let's just say this leads to something Loki mentioned before in the Avengers when he said Dreykov's daughter when he was reading her ledger. And in this film, we get to see what happened when she bombed Dreykov's daughter, and for the longest time thought she was dead. But yeah, leads to a pretty awesome fight scene on a bridge between her and Taskmaster, where Taskmaster is just blocking all her attacks, and she's just dumbfounded at what to do and barely escapes. But after this, ends up being sent to Budapest, a previous mission referenced in the Avengers, which was the mission to take out Dreykov's daughter, and is contacted by Yelena, who got free of the Red Room and ends up freaking reconnecting with her, not by her choice, but because they have to, with the little gas that allows Black Widows to not be under Dreykov's control with these pheromones. But yeah, leads to pretty nice reunion scene they have, and also this real awesome fight scene with Taskmaster where they go across the whole city and Natasha barely survives many of the encounters, but none of it is Fast and the Furious level, like throw physics out the window level bad. It's believable for her, not to mention she is a trained spy and assassin, so her durability is not low. And yeah, many great moments too where she's fighting Taskmaster, trying to get ahead of Taskmaster, and yeah. Then after this, she decides to go to what was heavily promoted in the marketing, a prison in Russia that is housing Red Guardian as he's serving out a prison sentence because Dreykov betrayed him. He sold him out, and that's his vendetta against Dreykov. And her vendetta against Dreykov is obviously she lost her childhood because of him and because of his scumbaggish ways and how he just views women as resources, nothing more, and even treated his own daughter as just a tool, not even a person. But yeah, leads to a real awesome scene where her and Yelena go to rescue him, and she's wearing her white suit, which, side note of all her costumes, that one might be my favorite next to her Age of Ultron one and the one she wears later in this movie, and various other ones that are very nice. But yeah, I really love this white costume and loving all the cosplayers wearing it now. And let's just say that there's a little detail that this movie adds to her Infinity War outfit that I really like. But we'll get to that when the next movie comes. But yeah, anyway, here's a few images from this and her in that outfit. So yeah, moving along, after Red Guardian is saved, he says they gotta go see Melina because she knows how to get to the Red Room, and leads to a real nice moment where she's calling him out saying, this whole thing was fake, we're not a real family. I don't know how you could live with this because it was all just a mission. And leads to some real emotional moments, and some where Yelena really begins to shine as much as her, and some that get pretty dang emotional. And her and Melina have a nice chat too, where she's saying, you know, after everything you've been through, how have you been able to keep such a good heart? And she says something like, you know, all these experiences, they just made my heart stronger, and that's why I wanted to join the Avengers. It is also probably the most referenced line in the film, which I really like, where Yelena is parodying her little pose where she's all like this, and she's all like, you're such a poser, you're a total poser, which I'll reference later in the film when she does it, and it's freaking hilarious. But it's something I have noticed about her. I mean, shoot, I changed my wallpaper's laptop to her in that pose in her white costume. But yeah, anyway, this leads to her using some of the technology that was used from the Winter Soldier coming up here. But anyway, she ends up going to the Red Room. Then after the Red Room, she goes there. It turns out there was a switch. Her and Melina traded outfits, where Melina's wearing the white suit now, and she was wearing the face mask disguise. Melina looked like Natasha, and Natasha looked like Melina, but Dreykov saw right through it. The other thing, too, I liked about this movie is Natasha wasn't portrayed as being on top of things all the time. She made mistakes and had to pivot and adjust, and this was one of those moments. But yeah, this leads to a real nice, intense standoff with Dreykov, and Dreykov reveals that it's the source of the smells with the pheromones, which is why she can't kill him, because she's trying to shoot him and stab him, but she just can't do it. And then she breaks her own nose and ends up freeing many of the widows from the Red Room after taking down the computer. Oh, and also Taskmaster is revealed to be Dreykov's daughter, so Taskmaster in this movie is like a living representation of Natasha's past haunting her, which I really liked. A nice detail. And a real nice moment too, where after this was revealed, Natasha was all like, "Thank you for your cooperation." A nice reference slash payoff to the Avengers, along with Dreykov, because Dreykov was name dropped in the Avengers. Another nice detail I like too that this movie had. And her and Taskmaster at the end of this film have some pretty awesome moments when Dreykov's base is destroyed by Melina, and also Yelena gets to take down Dreykov, and Natasha has a list of all the widows, since now they're saved, and basically the Russian family is going to spend the rest of their time in the MCU rehabilitating all the widows. And there is also a nice moment too where Dreykov sends off all the widows he has on Natasha, and she is just fighting them with her last breath, and just when it looks like she's going to be overran, Yelena shows up and saves the day in just the nick of time. And before this, she also has a moment where she does the landing, and she's like, "Ugh, that was disgusting." So I'm hearing all those moments. But yeah, after this, her and Yelena share a very emotional hug, because they know they're on different paths, and due to Natasha being hunted down, she can't really be seen with them, and she'd be putting them in danger if she frickin' stayed with them, and has a nice little final hug and moment where she goes to go escape frickin' General Ross. And then the final scene is her getting a Quinjet that leads into Avengers Infinity War, where she breaks out the Avengers that were with Captain America out from the raft, and she piloted the Quinjet, so it's established her and Steve, Captain America, teamed up to take him out. And the detail I like is Natasha is walking into frame in her first shot, and now is walking out of frame in her final shot in the MCU. And as George Lucas would say, it's like poetry. It rhymes. Every stanza, it rhymes. Never did I think I'd connect Black Widow, the MCU, and George Lucas, but here we go. And guess the last thing of note I gotta say here too is Yelena and Natasha had a nice way to communicate with each other with a bird whistle. I can't whistle for crap, but she whistled back to her as she was walking away when Natasha had to go, and let's just say it leads into the post-credit scene in this movie. And I want to discuss it chronologically, different from my podcast, but I'm going to discuss that at the end. So anyway, this leads into her next appearance in Avengers Infinity War. But yeah, a few final thoughts that I didn't get to on the solo film before I get into Infinity War. I thought this was a great way to honor her, and this movie is not what the critics say, saying that Yelena outshines her and it's more her movie. I felt like Natasha and Yelena were a team. They were a duo, like Captain America and Black Widow in The Winter Soldier. And it was her movie, her plot, her past established this, and many of the key plot points that are furthered are from her prior appearances. And I don't get the criticism with the timing. I mean, a worldwide pandemic occurred. What are we going to do? And it works where it's currently at, because I feel like this movie is a prequel done right, like Rogue One, a Star Wars story, where it fits into an established movie timeline, adds a little more, and then seamlessly flows into the next film, like Avengers Infinity War. So, yeah, just one of the many dumb criticisms. I already got into it with my podcast. All I'm going to say here is don't listen to them. The bulk of them are stupid. Just watch the movie and you'll know they're dumb. But, yeah, overall, real nice solo film for her, and I'm glad she got it, and glad I watched it, and can't wait to watch it more and more. And quick side note, I'm on Scarlett Johansson's side with the Disney lawsuit. They can't be doing what they're doing to her. That is just messed up, and they clearly breached her contract, and I hope she wins. And from many reports I'm hearing, she has a good chance of winning. And even Elizabeth Olsen and Kevin Feige are on her side, and another MCU actor who I believe also expressed support for her. But anyway, on to her appearance in Infinity War. This picks up right from after she confronted her past and helped out Captain America and is in hiding. And I guess her and Wanda have been working together on staying incognito and undercover, and leads to a real great moment, one of my favorite lines of hers in the whole movie, where she fights some of Thanos' Black Order, grabs a spear, stabs him, and is all like, "We don't want to kill you, but we will." And it is nice too when she's running alongside Black Panther and Captain America at the start, and when the battle starts, almost all the Avengers are being overran, but it's a real nice moment where Thor drops in with Stormbreaker. Here, let me go ahead and get a prop to emphasize it. Stormbreaker, and he is just throwing it around, wrecking through Thanos' Outriders, and God, it is just such a badass moment where Nat gets up, because she was getting overran, thrown on the ground by them, much like Bruce Banner and Captain America and Black Panther, and then she just has a look on her face like, oh yeah, Thor is here. Because story-wise, this is the first time she's seen him in about 3 years, because she wasn't in Thor Ragnarok, other than archive footage of Age of Ultron, so I'm not really going to count that. I already discussed the scene that was the archive footage in Thor Ragnarok, and yeah, just a real badass moment where she has a look on her face like, oh yeah, we're saved now. And then here is probably her most badass moment, where she fights Proxima Midnight. But yeah, it's so funny. She's taunting Scarlet Witch, saying, "It's funny, you're gonna die alone." And then Natasha shows up as Proxima Midnight is confronting her, and she's all like, she's not alone. And she ends up getting in some good hits on her and distracting her. And then Wanda throws her up to this little giant wheel, shredding her, and just a real badass moment. But yeah, after that, her next appearance was a valiant effort, but goes into the theme of the film, that Thanos winning was inevitable, and all the Avengers could really do was slow down Thanos, but not really stop him. And it leads to a moment where she's trying to tase and shoot at Thanos, but he then uses the Infinity Gauntlet to throw her to the ground and incapacitate her. And the last of note moment in this film is when she's near Steve when he realizes what happened after Thanos snapped, and Steve is laying back all like, oh god. And yeah, let's just say Avengers Endgame and Infinity War, and yes, that's an Endgame poster in the background, and to my left is an Infinity War poster. They're some of my favorite movies of all time. Kind of like the Shawshank Redemption. I don't know if you can see it, but it's behind me. But unlike the Shawshank Redemption, I can't watch these movies whenever I want. I have to be in the mood to watch them because, ooh boy, they get emotional. And this Black Widow marathon just added to it, and it is a very deadly emotional cocktail. And word of advice, don't watch Infinity War and Endgame back to back. That is a deadly emotional cocktail. I needed some time to get past it, but oh boy, it was not easy. And then the next appearance of her is kind of tied into Infinity War. She appears in the post-credit scene in Captain Marvel where they're trying to figure out the little pager that Nick Fury left behind before he got dusted, and she ends up there trying to figure out what it was up until Captain Marvel shows up, which is then furthered in Endgame. So guess I'll say this, even though her appearance wasn't long in this movie, the moments she got in were pretty awesome and pretty badass, and definitely nice little visual touch with Yelena's vest. And yeah, definitely a strong part to the ensemble cast of the film, and made the best of the screen time she got, and then is going to be beefed up significantly in Avengers Endgame. So here we are. So yeah, on Black Widow's final chronological appearance. So this one picks up right where Infinity War left off, at least at the start, where she's interacting with Captain Marvel, trying to figure out what they're going to do to take down Thanos. And frickin', let's just say she has a nice moment that upon rewatch I didn't notice was foreshadowing for later in the film, where Captain Marvel is saying, I'm gonna go take down Thanos myself, and she's like, you know, we do this as a team. And there's a nice moment where she backs off, is like, oh yeah, I should listen to this lady, she knows what she's talking about. And she leads the assault on Thanos, only to then realize he's destroyed the Infinity Stones and they're not going to be able to just snap back everyone. But she does have a nice line of her many amazing lines and moments in this film, where she's all like, even if there is a 1% chance of this succeeding, we owe this to everyone not in this room to try. Definitely a good point about the snap and all the losses that happened, and connects to her final line of dialogue in the MCU, which we'll get to, and why upon rewatch I've noticed it's a half-truth, and whoo boy, has only added to the emotions of it upon any other rewatch. And why what I said earlier, I can't watch this movie whenever I want, not just because it's long, but because it's too emotional and it's not easy. But yeah, here's her in the beginning, right before the 5-year time jump. So yeah, a 5-year time jump happens from the snap, and it turns out Natasha is now the leader of the Avengers, along with a new look where she has red hair with a blonde tip, and we can tell the time with the snap has really affected her, and she's now the de facto leader of the Avengers, since Captain America only helps her when he can, and he's led a support group for those affected by the snap. And she has these little holographic calls with all the remaining Avengers, and can tell everything that has happened has made her rethink her feelings on the Avengers being her family. And yeah, she had a Russian family, but obviously they broke off and went their own separate ways, and kind of why she feels the Avengers is her only family. But yet Yelena with her vest was with her in the spirit. But yeah, it leads to a real nice moment where her and Cap talk. And then after this, he's trying to tell her to look on the bright side because of all the things of having half the population. And she's like, if you're going to tell me to look on the bright side, I'm going to throw a peanut butter and jelly sandwich at you. And another detail too I noticed, she has her ballet shoes on her desk, and it's like it was probably one of her ways to cope with the snap and everything that happened. But yeah, after this, Ant-Man shows up and frickin' suggests the time machine. And it's kind of funny when he's all discussing how crazy the world has gotten, and she's all like, well, I get emails from a raccoon, so nothing's really all that strange anymore. And then leads to a pretty nice moment where he begins to make the time machine, and after a scene where she interacts with Bruce Banner at a restaurant, and brings up a good point when Banner and the Hulk become merged, he becomes Professor Hulk. And a nice line where she's like, well, you know, I remember a time where this wasn't possible. And also when she goes to meet up with Stark, who's sworn off being a hero after everything had happened, losing Spider-Man, and just all of the trauma of the snap just got to him, and he's like, yeah, no, I'm done with this. But yeah, she has some moments too where she encourages him, which is a real nice touch. And after that leads to a real solid moment where she goes after Hawkeye, because Hawkeye's become Rogue and has become Ronin, a new identity where he just brutally murders any criminal that crosses him, because he got devastated after his family got snapped. And a nice moment where they reunite. But yeah, Hawkeye's all telling her, you shouldn't be here. And then she mentions the time travel plan, says, we have a way we might be able to save those who are gone. And he's all saying, don't give me hope. And she ends up being able to persuade him, and a nice moment where they hug and solidifies their relationship. And yeah, definitely a real solid Clinton Nap moment. And then after that, it then leads to the time travel test run, where Clint walks around to make sure the time machine works, and also notice what can and can't be done with this time travel in the MCU, because they want to do a time heist. And a real nice moment where Hawkeye comes back and she comes to comfort him immediately afterward. And then a real nice moment where her and the remaining Avengers are discussing where they go back in time to take which stone and where. So yeah, they are discussing the stones, and Natasha has a eureka moment where she's like, you know, if you time it perfectly, or you time it just right, there are 3 Infinity Stones in New York in 1 year, referring to the Tesseract, the Space Stone, the Mind Stone being Loki's scepter, and then the Time Stone, that being Doctor Strange's medallion, which was in the hands of the Ancient One in the Sanctum Sanctorum. So yeah, really liked how she had that eureka moment that helped in getting the stones back. And then after this, it leads into Captain America's "This is the fight of our lives" speech, which I'll go into more detail when I discuss him. But yeah, freaking boy, she says a line that upon the first viewing didn't seem like it was gonna mean much, but ooh boy, upon rewatch, it's a gut punch. Let's just say that. Where right before everyone time travels back into their points in time, she's all like, "See you in a minute." Boy, such a very hard to take in. But we'll discuss the really emotional part here in a minute, because there are some details that I found on some posts that I want to highlight here that are well worth mentioning. But yeah, in the scene where the time heist is being discussed, there is a moment where they're discussing each stone and what each stone is and how they're going to obtain it, and yeah, leads to a real emotional moment where boy, now upon rewatch, where she's taking notes on the soul stone as Nebula's talking about it, and I believe she said the soul stone, it's the place of death and sacrifice, and Ant-Man's all like, "Not it," and she's taking notes. Because another detail I noticed besides that one, she did almost a thankless job leading the Avengers after the world went to crap after the snap, and probably spent many nights not getting enough sleep and just eating peanut butter and jelly sandwiches and just doing everything she could to help the world out, and still probably feeling like it wasn't enough. But the next moment will show the true hero Natasha was, and how she was the heart and soul of the Avengers, and as I've been saying, kind of like the Flash in the 2000s Bruce Timm Justice League team, where this one character with let's just say a certain thing happening to them, it leads to the team falling apart. In the Justice League cartoon, they become fascist dictator villains, and with the Avengers, they eventually disband after their final mission. But yeah, this leads to Vormir for the second time after Gamora. Well, here it is, the final scene and last lines of dialogue Natasha gets. So Clint and Natasha head to Vormir to have a nice moment where they're flying around space, and he says, "This is way different from Budapest, and it's only temporary though." Leads to one last joke she gives where they're referring to Raccoon, and how Hawkeye's all like, he's not really a raccoon, and she's all like, "Yeah, he eats garbage, same thing." But yeah, leads to when she goes to Red Skull and he reveals to get the Soul Stone, it is an everlasting exchange, and to get the stone you must pay for a soul with a soul. And much like when Thanos sacrificed Gamora, a similar sacrifice takes place between her and Clint. And there's a moment, kind of like Tony Stark, that I'll go over later. But yeah, where she's contemplating what Red Skull said, and has a moment where she's like realizing what's gonna have to happen, and that she's gonna have to make the ultimate sacrifice to wipe out the red on her ledger, bring back everyone, take down Thanos. And yeah, oh boy, very rough moment too when Hawkeye is doubting if what he's saying is true. And while her and Red Skull were interacting, Red Skull reveals her father's name, which, considering the events of her solo film, oh god, that was a mind-blowing revelation to her. And he's all like, how do you know he knows the name of your father? And she's all like, I didn't. And yeah, leads to a nice moment where they have a hug, because they do definitely have a friend type love towards each other, which fits the Soul Stone. And then after that, they end up fighting each other to get the Soul Stone, and leads to a moment where she fires her little grappling hook, and she's hanging, and Hawkeye's holding her, and she's all like, I'll be alright, I'll be fine, it's okay. And that's the half-truth right there, because it would end up being okay with taking down Thanos and bringing everyone back, but losing Natasha just then led to Tony being gone, and eventually Steve, Captain America. Just, oh boy, it was a half-truth. The Avengers won, but at a great cost. And yeah, Hawkeye lets her go, and I guess because he has like really keen eyesight, he has to look away. He can't even watch her fall. He just knows that this is the end for her. She did wipe out the red in her ledger, but yeah. Let's just say this makes a lot of lines more emotional, like what I said there, and the beginning tribute in Spider-Man Far From Home, where there's the tribute to all the fallen Avengers. Oh boy. Very, very rough. Oh boy. Still kind of got to me a little emotional. Podcast had more of it though, but oh boy, this still got me. Oh gosh. Well, before I become inaudible, last things I gotta say are the post-credit scene in the Black Widow movie is Valentina, a villain introduced in The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, talking to Yelena, who has hired her as an assassin. And I guess Natasha did end up getting a funeral like Tony and buried in Ohio, where she wanted to be, since that was her fondest memory of her childhood in Ohio before the Red Room got her. And a real emotional moment where Yelena is at her grave holding her stone and paying her respects, and she whistles like what she did in Natasha in her solo film. It's just, this time it's only her. Natasha's no longer around and she can't do it. And I can only imagine how Melina and Red Guardian reacted to this. So yeah. And Yelena, I can tell, became filled with rage, and Valentina reworded her sacrifice and said Hawkeye's responsible for her death, and just really established her as a piece of work. And can't wait to see where I hope Yelena realizes her mistake and goes to take down Valentina. But yeah, I guess my final thoughts, yeah, her solo film added a lot, and I really feel like she had a real solid run throughout the bulk of this time in the MCU, and has become a solid character. And I'll definitely miss Scarlett Johansson in the MCU and Black Widow, and Yelena is a pretty good successor, and though she won't replace her, but she's just as good, and very much like Sam Wilson, Captain America, and Spider-Man for Iron Man.
they are succeeding their prior heroes, but also their own hero at the same time, but carrying out their legacy. But yeah, it was a very emotional ride, but I hope you enjoyed this video, and like, comment, and subscribe, and be looking forward to my Iron Man Captain America video in this style. So like, comment, subscribe. Peace.